In this video, I'm going to show you how to take a dress shirt and turn it into a skirt. It's inspired by Alexander Wang's 2017 runway show. For this project, you need pins, a seam ripper, thread, scissors, measuring tape, and your dress shirt. Typically on a dress shirt, the buttons aren't going to go all the way down to the hem, so you want to keep this in mind when you're placing the hem for your skirt. I'm going to start by cutting off the existing hem of the shirt because there's not really enough fabric to bother with unstitching it. Then I'm going to fold over where I want my new hem, again keeping in mind the placement of the buttons. The back is going to be slightly longer than the front, but we can make adjustments to this later. The main goal of this part is just to make sure that you have enough seam allowance after you fold over your hem. We're now going to take the measurement for our skirt, and you can do this on your mannequin or on yourself. We're going to add 3 centimeters on top for seam allowance, and keep in mind we already folded over seam allowance for the hem. Now we're going to take that measurement, including seam allowance, and place pins where we're going to cut. Just like with the hem, we want to make sure that the buttonhole isn't going to interfere with the top of the skirt either. You may need to adjust the skirt slightly to accommodate for the placement of the buttons. Now, using our measuring tape and our pins, we're just going to cut along to create the length of the skirt that we measured. I'm also going to remove that top button because for my skirt it's in the way of the waistline. And as you can see, I left quite a bit of extra hem at the bottom to play with. Now I'm going to place the skirt on my mannequin inside out. You can easily do this pinning on yourself, and I'm just going to pin the side seams. You'll want to unpin that temporary hem as you do the side seams. I'm taking it in at the sides so it fits nicely around the waist. There will be a bit of a gap in the back, but we're going to deal with that later. Keep in mind we're also going to be folding it over by that 3 centimeters that we left at the top of the skirt. Now you're ready to sew those side seams. So just sew along where you pinned with a straight stitch. You may want to try it on to make sure it fits, and then you can cut away the extra fabric. The fabric I used slightly frays, so I'd like to go over the side seams again, this time with a zigzag stitch. It's important that your needle's going over the edge of the fabric so you're really locking in those loose threads. Now we're ready to move on to the top of the skirt. So with the wrong side facing up, you're going to fold over your fabric 1 centimeter and iron that down. It's important that the 2 pieces at the front are lining up. Then I folded it over again by 2.5 centimeters and continued to iron it down, placing pins as I went. Again, it's very important to make sure that those 2 center pieces are lining up. Then you're going to sew along where you placed your pins, creating a channel at the top of the skirt. Now trying the skirt on, we're going to properly pin the hem. It's not really that easy doing on yourself, but I find that I always get a more accurate result. Keep in mind the back is going to be bunched, which slightly shortens the skirt. So you want to take this into consideration when you're pinning the back. You can do this by just holding the back tight and see if you still like the length. Okay, now we're going to iron down where we just pinned, keeping in mind that there's all that extra fabric that we folded up that we're actually going to be creating the hem with. I'm going to make a 2 centimeter hem, which means I actually need 3 centimeters of extra fabric, but you can make any thickness of hem that you like. So I'm going to cut away the extra fabric, leaving 3 centimeters at the bottom. I like to do this by placing my measuring tape just to make sure that everything's even. Then I'm going to fold that hem over 1 centimeter, and there's our 2 centimeter hem using 3 centimeters of fabric. So I'm going to iron that and place pins all along the hem. And then you're going to sew along with a straight stitch where you pinned. You've now sewn the side seams, the top, and the bottom of your skirt. We're now going to move on to the drawstring at the top. So using the fabric that's left over from the shirt, we're going to cut out our drawstring. I cut out 3 strips that were 4 centimeters in width. The length is going to be totally up to you, and you're just going to attach as many strips as you need accordingly. Just make sure that when you're attaching the strips, you're attaching them right sides together. So here I've got my 3 4 centimeter in width strips, and I'm just going to sew them together to create one long piece. Again, placing right sides together. Now we have one long strip that we're going to use for our drawstring. The length is up to you, we just need to make sure that it wraps around our waist and that you can tie a bow. We're now going to fold both edges in 1 centimeter and then fold it in half and iron it again. So as you can see, all of our raw edges are being tucked in the middle. And then you're going to sew along the very edge with a straight stitch. With that now sewn down, you're just going to fold over the edge twice, again tucking in those raw edges, and sew with a straight stitch. You're going to do this for both ends of your drawstring. Do up your buttons to make sure everything's aligned, and then we're going to cut with our seam ripper 2 little holes where we're going to insert our drawstring. You want these holes on the outside of the button placket and only going through 1 layer of fabric. Now we're going to insert the drawstring. I like doing this with a safety pin, but you can use any method you like. Then you're going to poke the drawstring through the hole that you just created and feed it through the channel until it comes out on the other side through the other hole that you cut. And you're all done! Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked this video, please subscribe.